guys, welcome back to your Daily Dose. Today we're talking about Tyler Perry's SISTAS, Season 2, Episode 18. So this episode starts off with Karen walking into Andi's apartment just as Gary's leaving. So Karen is looking at Andi like, girl, what are you doing? You lied to me. If you can remember last episode, Andi stopped off to see Karen before she came home to kind of see where Karen's head was at with Gary. So they got into it a little bit there, but she, in that conversation, denied that she would be seeing Gary ever again. Karen thought there was something up with that, so I knew that when she said okay to Andi as if this was done, that she really wasn't finished with it. So in any case, they're in Andi's apartment now, and Karen completely dismisses Gary. I actually love the way that she does it. She gives him one-word answers and is like, why are you still here? Why are you still talking to me? You can go love her on the other side of the door. I'm here to talk to my friend. So Gary eventually leaves, and Karen and Andi get into it. So Karen is essentially just trying to get it through Andi's head that Gary is not a good guy. He's actually physically hurt you. He put you through so much with his wife, with the government, and how they had to come in and seize everything you own, and you barely got it back. Why are you giving this man another chance? So here's the thing. Andi's already made up her mind that she's going to give Gary another chance, but she's not saying it to Karen. Karen knows what's up and just wants Andi to admit it to her so they can move forward in the conversation. But every time Andi asks her something, it's, I didn't say I was getting back together with him. I didn't say yes to his proposal. But Karen is countering that with, you didn't say no. Just come on and tell me the truth so we can get with it. The other thing that Andi is doing here is that she keeps projecting. So she knows, or she feels deep down, in my opinion, that her being with Gary may not be the right thing. She seems conflicted, but instead of dealing with those feelings with Karen, she is projecting them onto Karen and keeps turning the conversation back to Karen and Zach. At the end of this whole thing, they get into a mini blow up, and Andi says, I don't want us to fall out over Gary. Karen doesn't necessarily answer that, but insists on wanting to talk. So then Andi kicks her out of her apartment, and that's where this conversation ends. So in the next scene, we pick up with Sabrina and Jacoby at the bar. Sabrina just gets finished explaining what happened between Maurice and Alonzo. Jacoby seems real apologetic and says that he's going to try his best to interact better with Maurice and squash the beef. So after that, he asks if Sabrina wants another drink. She says no, but Jacoby's like, I don't want to drink by myself. Sabrina's like, you should actually stop drinking because you have to drive. He said that he could ride share, and somehow they stumble into the conversation of, we should pick this up at Sabrina's house, and he can ride share from there. At first she was strong and looking at him like he's crazy and telling him no, but eventually she buckles and invites him over to her place, which I thought was such a terrible idea. Come on, Sabrina, use your brain. So in this conversation, again, he's aware that she is his boss. He mentions it jokingly in conversation, but I have a feeling like that's going to come up again in the future. I'm holding on to it. I still don't trust him, so I feel like something shady may happen. From there, we go back to Karen. We see her driving home, and she calls Aaron, and he can sense that something is off with her. So he offers to bring her food, and he tells her to hold it. Whatever it is, hold it. I'll talk to you about it in person so you can give me everything and all your emotion, and I can support you with it. So we're really building Aaron up to be this really great guy. And I see down the line that Karen is not over Zach. And when Zach comes back and is this new man, Fatima's new man, she's going to be conflicted. So in any case, we move on now to Danni and Preston in her apartment having dinner with Preston's sister, who he invited to dinner and didn't tell her. So, of course, in true Danni fashion, she overreacts to this whole situation. They're sitting at the table, and Preston says how much Danni loves his cooking, and the sister says, "Oh, I can tell." Danni decides to take that a little bit further than it needs to go, and it presses on the sister as to what does she mean by "you can tell." Any case, it gets awkward, and the sister realizes that she should just go, so she does. Preston wanted to walk her to her car, but the sister insisted that Preston stay and talk to Danni. So even through this entire interaction, which wasn't pleasant, the sister is still feeling Danni, still likes her, still wants her brother to be with him. So Preston hugs his sister goodbye and then tries to work things out with Danni. And to be honest, I don't even think that Danni knows why she's mad in this conversation. She seems to be upset that he invited his sister without letting her know, but her reaction was just disproportionate to whatever the situation was. But in any case, she starts to explain, and then Preston cuts her off and says, "Okay, don't even have to finish. I get it. You don't want me here." And she doesn't dispute that. And so he, already having his bags packed, grabbed it and was about to go through the door. And she turns it around and says, "No, I actually don't want you to go." And he's like, "I'm here for you. I just need you to tell me what's wrong, what I did wrong, so A, I don't do it again, and B, I can try and fix it." And she says, "Listen, right now, all I need is some space. So can you just go for a walk?" So then we move on to Fatima and Hayden. If you can remember last episode, Fatima, after seeing Zach, invited Hayden over to her home because she figured that he had something to do with why Zach got arrested. So here we are, he brings over the wine, she pours them some glasses, and they're sitting at the table, and he's like ready to engage with her, and she's like, "So, Zach got arrested." And he's like, "Oh, for real?" And he looks real guilty in the face, but he tries to, play it off, and she goes, "Do you not want to know why?" And he says, "Nope, he is ex-con, so, they do what they do." And so Fatima basically calls him on the fact that she checked her neighbor's cameras and saw that one of the guys from the programs, who is an ex-con but happens to be really close with Hayden, can be seen planting the drugs in Zach's car. So Fatima basically put two and two together and said, this guy is not going to do this on his own. He does everything you say. He is your flunky. So you did this. So I am giving you until tonight, the end of the night, to have Zach back here to me, or tomorrow I am blowing up your whole spot. And he seems to ignore her warning, but presses her as to why they did not work out. And to be honest, he really should have just took no for an answer, because when I say that she dragged him, she said, "I'm not attracted to you. I went out with you just to see if I could be attracted to a guy like you. I can't. I do not like you. I had sex with you. It was a big mistake. The whole time I was ready for it to be over. And when you said that you were hard, you actually weren't." She really just embarrassed him. And then after his jaw's on the ground, she says again, "Make sure my man's is out of jail tonight, or I'm coming for you in the morning." And then just walks away and leaves him at her table like, "Take this cheap wine that you brought over here with you." So that was a funny interaction. I love Fatima, and I hope we get more of her moving forward. So then we have Maurice stopping by his favorite club, the gay club that we've seen all the people in the show frequent. So he's talking to the bartenders, and he sees the one that had that brief one night stand with Danni, and asks him why he told Danni that he saw Calvin doing drugs when everyone knows Calvin is clean, and it's highly unlikely that that's the case. That particular bartender persisted and said, "It's definitely Calvin. I know Calvin. It's definitely Calvin," and isn't backing down. But him and another bartender also say that they saw Calvin there today with another man. So Maurice is kind of feeling a little weird. Like, he told me that he was actually going on a date with a woman, so why is he here with a man? So Maurice starts to feel like, is Calvin really, going both ways, or, am I missing my shot with him, that type of thing. But he kind of rests back in the fact that Calvin insists that he's straight, so he is straight. So next we see Karen back home at the table with Aaron, and she's still very distraught about the conversation, and she's trying to explain to Aaron how she thinks it's a big mistake that Andi is trying to get back together with Gary. She asked Aaron for some insight into Gary, seeing as how Aaron has helped counsel Gary over the past few years. So as Aaron tries to explain that Gary actually is a good guy and that he really does love Andi, Karen completely dismisses it and is like, if you're going to take up for him, there's no point in me talking to you about this. So Aaron checks her and says, A, if I'm going to give you information, you have to be open to it. And B, he basically explains to her, not that he wants anything to happen to Andi, but the only way to help people is to let them make their own mistakes. Let them go through things and learn from them. So we leave Karen with Aaron giving her a lot of things to chew and marinate on. So next we're back at Sabrina's place with her and Jacoby. So they seem to be having a decent time talking and drinking, but it's getting late and Sabrina's like, okay, it's time for you to go. Jacoby is pressing really hard to stay and again reiterating how much he really likes her and that type of thing, but she still tells him that he needs to call his Uber and go. He hugs her goodbye and she feels his presence, if you know what I mean, and she begins to question him on it, which again, it's either you're going to flirt with him and move forward and talk about those things, or you keep it somewhat professional and not mention it at all, because your curiosity is inviting his behavior. So she may want to check what she's possibly inviting, not that she's inviting him to do anything to her, but her curiosity, it just seems to egg it on a little bit, and she's his boss, so she needs to know where to draw that line. So from there, we're at Fatima's house. She's sitting on the couch watching TV and gets a knock at the door. It is Zach. So it looks like Hayden was able to undo what he did and got Zach released, which I find a bit interesting because he wasn't just in jail for the charges, the coke charges. He was in jail because of carrying Preston charges because of a credit card. So we don't really get too much of an answer on that, but we may hear about it the next episode. In any case, Fatima starts to explain everything that went down and tells Zach about Hayden. Zach is understandably annoyed and upset, saying he knew that this would happen. He knew he shouldn't have got back involved with her because of Hayden. She reassures him that she handled it, everything's okay, and nothing will happen to him moving forward. She also tells him that as soon as he gets through these first two flips, he's going to look back at this as if it's a bad dream. So he then decides to accept her support and make himself feel better, and says that he's really happy that he has her in his corner. So that's all she wrote for them. It's Zach and Fatima, so you all can imagine what happens next between them. From there, we go back to Danni, who's sitting on her couch waiting for Preston to come home. So when he finally gets back from his walk, Danny's feeling a lot better. Preston, apologizes for not telling her that he invited his sister over for dinner, but also presses for what's really wrong with her. Danni then says that she's worried that he thinks that she's with him for the money. She brings up the fact that his brothers said that she can't have any of his money when they came to the airport to attack her. She went on to explain that she didn't think that he came from money, so this is all news for her. And Preston says he knows, don't listen to what his brother said, which is what he's been saying from the beginning. I mean, Danny's whole anger in this situation just seemed unfounded, and it seemed like they were really stretching for a reason to have some beef between them. Anyway, they make up and we move on. In the next scene, we see Maurice finally making it home, and he's hearing some moaning and groaning coming from Calvin's room. So he's assuming that Calvin's in there doing something, but he notes that he doesn't hear a woman's voice. A few seconds later, a man comes out the room, and he's kind of vaguely talking about what they're doing in there, and Maurice is assuming the worst. So that's where this episode ends. I feel like when we come back next week, Calvin's going to come out of the room and we're going to learn that something completely different happened than what Maurice is insinuating. In any case, guys, that is SISTAS Season 2, Episode 18. Let me know what you think of the episode down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and please subscribe to my channel. See you next time. Peace.